Hey guys, Jeannine here. Apologies for no episode of Monday Madness today with just life, schedules, the 8-hour time difference, our other two podcasts. We just couldn't line up our time this week to record our Monday show as usual. So hopefully we will be back next week with a brand new episode of Monday Madness for you. So in place of Monday Madness, I'm here with a little bit of a special video for you. August is my birthday month and I'm celebrating a pretty big birthday this year, the big 4-0. So I thought it would be fun to share with you these series of birthday films that I love to watch every August in celebration of my birthday. I'm even wearing my birthday shirt for the Virgos out there. As you know, I am a huge horror fan, so there are 5 fun horror films with a birthday twist that I love to watch every year this month, and 2 very specific films that I watch on my actual birthday for very specific reasons. So we'll get into those at the end, but let's talk some birthday themed horror. Kicking things off with the 1981 film Happy Birthday to Me. Happy Birthday to Me was released in 1981 and directed by J. Lee Thompson. You can find it streaming at the following streaming platforms. The film follows a popular group of friends known as the Top 10, with newest member being Virginia. As Virginia starts experiencing blackouts and flashbacks to her traumatic past, members of her friend group start turning up dead, all leading up to her birthday. While you may not know their names, the film does star some recognizable faces, like Lawrence Dane as her father, who you might recognize from The Bride of Chucky, Matt Craven, who's a recognizable supporting character in several films. He plays one of the members of the Top 10 group. If you're someone like me who grew up watching soap operas, the character of Anne will look familiar to you, played by Tracy E. Bregman, who was Lauren Fenmore on the long-running soap opera Young and the Restless. And probably the biggest name in the film is classic iconic Hollywood actor Glenn Ford as Virginia's therapist. Probably one of the things I love most about slashers is the whodunit mystery aspect, but I will say this one does not lead to a perfect ending. In kind of researching it over the years, I learned that the ending was kind of switched last minute. So the ending that they actually wanted to go with, I found to be pretty interesting and had more of a supernatural aspect, but they decided to ground it more, making the ending a bit more clunky. But overall, this film boasts some fun kills and some tense set pieces. It does drag a little bit in parts, but generally, if you are looking for some creative, fun, killer set pieces, this film definitely delivers on that. Then the next film on my birthday horror watch list is also from 1981, and that is Bloody Birthday. Bloody Birthday was also released in 1981 and directed by Edward Hunt. You can find it streaming at the following places. The film follows 3 kids born prematurely under a solar eclipse, and as they near their 10th birthdays, they become murderous. Probably the most recognizable faces in the cast are the Curtis actor Billy Jane. He is known for things like Cujo and Just One of the Guys. And we also have Julie Brown, a popular host and actress from the 80s and 90s. This is a schlocky, low-budget horror film that actually looks pretty good considering. These kid actors are doing an incredible job and they all kind of fit their roles really well. Our girl character in the group, Debbie, is kind of the most deceptive and ruthless. Then we have Curtis, who's our leader, who is just no nonsense and kind of a badass. And then we have Steven, who's kind of just the muscle of the group. Definitely not as standout as Debbie or Curtis. But it's just wild to see these young kids being so murderous and manipulative and sneaky and shady. And obviously they can just hide in plain sight and fly under the radar because they're just cute kids and no one could believe that they would do the sinister things that they do. They even have no qualms about killing some of their own family members, killing other kids, like they don't care. So, Bloody Birthday, for even how cheaply this movie is made, it actually looks great. They have some fun kind of stunt things in the junkyard that actually look pretty good for a film that really didn't have a budget. And overall, just a fun watch. Then we move on to our third birthday horror film in 1981, and that is Madhouse. Madhouse is another film released in 1981 and directed by Italian director Ovidio G. Assonitis. I hope I'm saying that correctly, and you can find it streaming on the following streaming services. The film follows a teacher for the deaf who finds herself being stalked by her disfigured and psychopathic twin sister. This all comes about as their birthday approaches. The film actually has an Italian director, but was made in America. I think it was filmed in Georgia. So it does have some giallo feeling elements to it. There aren't a ton of kills, but there are actually two very gruesome killer moments with a dog. I believe it's a Rottweiler. So those scenes actually come off really intense. And the film looks great. A lot of great atmosphere in a lot of the shots. We do get a bit of a countdown clock showing us the days that pass leading up to the birthday of these twin sisters. And we are dealing with a character who isn't believed, which is very common in horror. So our lead character feels kind of isolated in this situation. So for some solid tension, some really beautiful, haunting looking scenes, Madhouse is a solid birthday horror watch. And then, of course, now going into the more popular modern birthday horror film, let's talk about the Happy Death Day movies. Happy Death Day was released in 2017 and directed by Christopher Landon. You can find it streaming at the following places. And Happy Death Day to You was released 2 years later in 2019, also directed by Christopher Landon, and can be found streaming here. Happy Death Day follows vapid and self-centered sorority girl Tree as she wakes up on her birthday only to learn that someone is trying to kill her. Upon her death, she wakes up again in the same day and repeats the day over and over again and decides to use this repeating of the days to figure out who is trying to kill her. Sequel, Happy Death Day to You, gives us a Back to the Future style story that shows us why Tree was repeating the days in the first film. This film sees Tree jump to an alternate reality where now she has to solve the murders there, and she ultimately has to decide if she's going to go back to her original reality or stay in this new one. I remember seeing this film in the theater in 2017, and I remember just having an absolute blast with it. It's a PG-13 rated horror, so it's not incredibly gory. Definitely leads into the comedy aspects, but as I said, I do love the whodunit aspect done in this way with the time loop. So we're getting a Groundhog's Day level horror film. So just adding kind of your typical horror tropes into a genre element that is so fun, like a Groundhog's Day, is such a smart idea. Jessica Roth absolutely kills this as the character she plays into the frustration and the comedy and even the emotional scenes that are in this film as well. She has to play so much and she helms this movie so well. It's just a really fun, crafted story around a really fun movie element. And then when we go into the sequel, which was made 2 years later in 2019, them having to kind of match everything that we saw in that first film while also showing different angles of things, getting this behind the scenes look of what is even causing the repeating of her day was really smart. But also we get into kind of a lot of science stuff and having to explain like time travel elements, which can get a little bit messy for the film story. It's not as focused as the first film, obviously, with this element, but I think it is an interesting way to continue the story and explain everything we saw in 2017 in a really fun way. So while the first film was Groundhog's Day, this film is a little bit Back to the Future, which I think is really fun and going into alternate realities, which plays into the story really interesting and also gives us a lot more emotional beats than the first film for Jessica Roth to play into, which she actually does a brilliant job. So just for the performances, the creative flair, just seeing something different in horror, I absolutely love watching Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day to You in August for celebrating my birthday. Now for the two other films that I watch every day on August 29th specifically as my birthday double feature. Might be a bit of a weird double feature, but it is my very common birthday routine at this point that I've done for several birthdays. The first film, as you can see behind me, is Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Terminator 2 Judgment Day was released in 1991 and directed by James Cameron. You can find it streaming on the following platforms.
3 billion human lives ended on August 29th, 1997. The survivors of the nuclear fire called the war Judgment Day. They lived only to face a new nightmare, the war against the machines.
I feel like most people probably know the story of Terminator 2 Judgment Day, but for those who don't, this sees a T-800 Terminator that is reprogrammed go back in time to protect a young John Connor from a new Terminator, the T-1000, that was also sent back in time to kill John Connor. The film tells us that Judgment Day is actually August 29th specifically. So, as somebody who has been given the nickname Jeannine the Machine and having Judgment Day be her birthday, obviously I latched onto that connection very quickly and really enjoyed making this my special birthday movie every year. Of course, everyone loves this movie. Great storytelling, great way of explaining its time travel rules and making all of that make sense. Incredible, insane action set pieces, great characters. I love the evolution of Linda Hamilton's Sarah Connor character from the first film to this film. She is such a badass. Robert Patrick is terrifying as the T-1000 to see just how, straight-faced and methodical and intense he is. Arnold is perfect as making us fall in love with this character who was the villain in the first one. This film is firing on so many great moments and things just lining up perfectly. So, love that this is a movie that I watch every year. And then the other film that I watch every August 29th is for a pretty interesting reason. I had found this app years ago that you type in your birthday and it'll tell you the movie that was the number one movie on the charts the day you were born. So the number one movie at the box office the day you were born. And for me, it happened to be a 1984 Clint Eastwood thriller called Tightrope. Tightrope was released in 1984 and directed by Richard Tuggle. You can find it streaming on the following platforms. If you want to find the number one movie the day you were born, just find playback.fm or search find number one movie the day I was born and this app will come up. You can also search the number one song the day you were born. I was very excited to find out that my number one song was the Ghostbuster song, Ghostbusters, Who You Gonna Call? Now, I was kind of pleasantly surprised to discover this because I had just recently, at the time that I discovered this, watched all of the Dirty Harry films for the first time. I had watched The Gauntlet, another Clint Eastwood film, for the first time and was really just on this kick of his films and really enjoying this early era of Eastwood that I had just never seen. So when I learned that my birthday movie was a Clint Eastwood film, I was very excited. So I watched that film for the first time a few years ago after discovering this, and now it's just part of the rotation and part of this double feature with Judgment Day. Tightrope sees Eastwood as Wes Block, a New Orleans detective and single father, as he is investigating a series of murders against prostitutes. As he gets closer and closer to solving the case, things get messy for him when he ends up in the crosshairs of our killer. I'm not going to say it's the best film. It's not my favorite Clint Eastwood film. I definitely enjoy plenty of the other films that I had watched in that run, but it is a solid thriller for sure. I think I got used to seeing him be kind of this tough but really not completely moral, but had a sense of justice type character, who did things, the right things, but his own way kind of guy. And in this film, he's a little bit sloppy, he's a little bit gray. Um, so to see him be a little messy in the way he is in this film, um, was just not what I was used to seeing after this long run of seeing him be completely different in other films. So, which just speaks to the variety of his talent. Um, it's really suspenseful. It's really this kind of fun cat and mouse storytelling. Uh, we see him perform with his actual real life daughter as this single father with two girls. So I like giving this cop who's in this very kind of messy world be a girl dad. It's a really interesting thing for his character. We throw a bit of a romance in there as well. So, quite a bit of things going on in this story. But it was an interesting thriller to discover because thrillers are also a genre that I really enjoy. So, while a very strange movie to watch every year for my birthday, for that reason of it being the number one box office draw on the day I was born, I think it's just kind of a fun thing to throw in there for myself every year. So, those are the birthday films I love to watch every August to celebrate my birthday. Please let me know in the comments if there are movies that you watch every year on the same day, or if you have a birthday movie, even if it's just a movie that you love to watch every year for your birthday. Please let me know. Also, hit that like button, hit the bell, like, share, subscribe, do all of the things. If you stay till the end of this video, thank you so much for checking it out and supporting the channel. And let me know if you've seen any of the films that I've mentioned on this list. If so, what is your favorite? So I hope you enjoyed this video and hanging out with me for Monday, even though it's not Monday Madness. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.